Hi players, bonjour from Geneva, my name is Asaf and welcome to my channel Easy Board Games. Today I'm going to have for you a review, first impressions of STALKER, the board game that was designed by Pawel Samborski and published by Awaken Realms. So it is some sort of a first impression / review. I'm not so sure what am I more comfortable with, but first of all, let's get to the table and understand what STALKER the board game is all about. STALKER the board game is a 1 to 4 player game, fully cooperative, that takes place in some sort of a parallel world where the events of what happened after the disaster in Chernobyl took slightly of a different turn. Over here we're going to have this zone that is pretty much the restricted area around Chernobyl that grew all kind of anomalies, mutants, bandits, robbers, but also brought some adventurers, explorers, and so on, and that is in the shape of your STALKER. So what you can see right now on the screen is basically a part of my how to play video that I did for Board Game Co. Feel free to check it out when it's up in the air. But this is, for example, a single player scenario. Don't worry, there are going to be zero spoilers over here. Even this map is something that I've kind of built on my own. So in general, STALKER is going to have 3 phases, let's say, in the game in general. The first one is the zone exploration. Again, I don't want to ruin for you too much, but we have over here the campaign binder where we're going to have a map and we're going to have some contact cards. I don't want to show you too much, but to be honest with you, these are pretty much the contacts that we have in the beginning. And those can be like arm dealers or people that we can just buy from them some armor, different equipment, gain missions and stuff like that. And after we finished with that and we can actually put some stickers on the map, it's kind of nice. We're going to go to the meat and bones of this game, that is the mission phase. Pretty much this is what you can see over here. We're going to read some text, of course, and then we're going to understand what is the mission and what do we need to do in that specific scenario. Each scenario is going to come in this small box. That means that the instructions, of course, are going to be in a different rule book, but here we're going to have different elements, like, for example, the different event cards that are going to lead us through the story, and also some overlay cards that we're going to place on the board just to, of course, not make it every time the same. Those overlay cards are going to change the board and modify it a little bit in a really cool way. So again, we're not going to open it, but just for you to know that there are some cards over here that basically are going to narrate the story throughout this mission. After we have finished the mission, if of course we manage to succeed, we're going to move to the third part, and that is some sort of an epilogue that is going to tell us a little bit what happened after. We're going to gain some stuff according to what we managed to do on the game. And then we're going to again go to the zone exploration. We're going to have new locations that we have discovered, and we're going to go to the next mission. In the main phase, again, that is the mission phase, the tactical aspect of the game is pretty cool. I'm going to talk about it a little bit later during the review. But in general, in the mission itself, we also have 3 phases. The first one is that we're going to take the first event card that we have on our deck. Again, this is just random events that sometimes we're going to add to the main event deck that we're going to have in this game, but we're going to flip it to the other side. We're going to resolve whatever we have. Some of the cards have an effect that is going to happen before we're going to take our turn with the STALKERs. Some of them just don't. And again, some of them have end of round effects, some of them don't. And then the STALKERs are going to start taking their actions. So what we can see right now is just a solo mission. We have only one STALKER, and that means that we're going to add over here this overlays. Usually we don't have them when we're playing with 2 or more STALKERs, and that's the difference between having only 2 actions if you're playing in a multiplayer, or you're going to add this overlay and then you can perform 3 actions in your turn. So as you understood, one STALKER is going to do their entire turn. Each action that they will take, each standard action, let's say, is going to drop the token by 1. You also can have free actions, as many as you want, as long as you are able to do them and wish to. And after one STALKER finished with their turn, if it's a multiplayer game, then the next STALKER is going to take them and so on. And if no, then you're just going to take your second turn. Of course, after you have resolved some combat, if you are in the line of sight of other entities that you have here, other enemies. After you have finished both of your turns, that will be the time to activate the enemies and the zone basically. And then according to the marker that you had on the board, and that depends which kind of attention token you have placed on the board, if it's the low attention or the high attention, then we're going to draw respectively one of the cards that we have in the supply, and then we're going to resolve them. If it's the high attention, then the entities, the enemies are going to actually work more aggressively and going to actively looking for us. If it's the low attention, then it's more like simulating their patrolling around the board and just looking for something in general, not specifically for us. And we have different actions that we can do over here. The basic actions will be movement, pick up stuff. We have also here something that is called an anomaly, and we have over here an overlay of the anomaly. That means where the anomaly is going to affect on which space. And every time that you see one of these symbols, if you're entering this area, you will have the chance to activate it actually, or the bad chance, the bad luck. You'll need to roll a die and see if actually it corresponds to one of the symbols you walked on. And another action, for example, will be just to take a bolt and throw it on one of these symbols to cover it, to lower your chances to activate this anomaly. It's super important. In most of missions, you're going to have a special artifact that is going to hide under the anomaly itself, and we'll have to discover where it is exactly thanks to our one of our detectors, and then take the artifact, which is something that is pretty strong in this game, but also has a constant level of radiation that we're going to take in this very cool Geiger counter that we have over here, which is a feature that I really like, but we'll talk about it soon enough. It's going to be a little bit difficult to pass over all the actions that you can do because there are a lot of items or things that we can acquire during this game that will allow us to have more actions, more abilities. But in general, every time we're going to see this symbol, it actually means that we're going to push our activation token one step below, and that is what's going to push the game forward. If we're going to have this symbol, that means it's a free action. And again, you can do not only the basic actions, you're going to have different actions from different cards, and also from the overlay cards that you're going to place on the board in different missions. But again, as promised, I'm not going to have any kind of spoilers for you over here. The enemies as well that we're going to operate are going to not also have different teams sometimes that they're going to have. That means that they're not only going to try and target us, even though that is going to be their priority, but also in specific conditions they will be able to attack each other. And in general, the enemies over here are going to be activated by, again, one of these cards by a relatively simple, and I say it in a very good way, very simple AI kind of way. They're just going to go to a specific target that they have that is going to be their priority. And also they have movement and combat rules that are pretty much easy to understand, very streamlined, so operating this will be a kind of an easy task. So that was a very general overview of S.T.A.L.K.E.R, the board game. Again, I'm trying to have here as least spoilers, if at all, as possible, so I'm not going to ruin anything to you. It will be a little bit difficult, but we're going to try and make it. So let's start breaking down this game according to my parameters of review, and we're going to start with a set up the game and learning it. So setting up the game, yeah, I guess it's not the most comfortable thing. You're going to have here a system like Gloomhaven with basically tiles with numbers, and in the mission booklet they're going to tell you exactly how to place them. For each mission, like I said before, we're going to have a box with different cards. Some of them are the event cards and others are just the overlay cards that are going to go into this game. It's pretty simple, pretty easy to do it. You really, they show you on the map itself how to place the cards. So it's not so terrible to find the enemies, to build whatever you have seen over here with the playmats. It's not it's not a game that you're going to set up in 5-10 minutes, but also it's not the end of the world. I think from memory, Gloomhaven took much more time to set up on the table, and not talking about other games in general, not only campaign games that took longer. I'm talking about Voidfall, Frostpunk, or whatever. Those are games that really took a lot of time. But relatively, and I'm going to talk about the playtime itself, I think it's totally worth it. It's not the end of the world. A few things to do. I think that maybe learning the game might be, I don't want to say more, like a lot more challenging. It's not a very complicated game. I think that the problem over here is that there are a lot of small details that are actually going to impact the game a lot. And most of it is going to be in the basics of this game, okay, the foundations that you need to make sure that you understand if you want to have a good experience of a Stalker. And those will be most likely the distances between different spaces. If I need to understand, let me take you back to the board. If I need to understand that the distance from this space to this space is actually 3, because we'll not be able to go through a wall, it's going to be 1, 2, 3. So for movement, these spaces actually do not consider to be adjacent. It's just something that we have to remember when we are not only playing for our stalkers, but mainly when we want to activate the AI, okay? When we want to activate the enemies. Also, the shortest route, the line of sight. Again, I don't want to go too much into it. Feel free to check out my how to play a video that is going to be at some point, or already is, depends when you're watching the video, on Alex's channel, Board Game Co. But if you don't manage to understand perfectly these basic concepts, it is going to ruin for you a little bit the experience of Stalker, and also it's going to be a little bit more difficult for you to understand how to operate in this game. So it's not to say that this game is complicated, but you have to pay attention to some small details that might come later in this game. So learning the game, again, there are, I think, around 40 pages over here that you need to learn, or a little bit less if you're taking down the beginning of the game. But in general, I think that the first phase, like the zone navigation, everything is written really nicely in the different things that you're going to receive in that go to the campaign binder. So for example, if I'm opening this and I see the zone navigation, they're going to give you the steps, and it's really very direct, very streamlined, very easy to understand. You really don't need to remember here almost anything. Contacts, going on a mission, what happens after the mission, and well, we said no spoilers, so I don't want to show you anything else. But I think you do need to take your time learning this game to make sure that your experience is going to be good. Difficult? No. Complex? A little bit, just in terms of, I would say maybe I would have rearranged the rulebook just a little bit to make similar subjects pretty much in the same area of the rulebook, but it's not so bad. And I think that after a mission and a half, let's say it like that, you're already swimming in it, and it's totally okay. Next, let's talk about the gameplay itself, what we are all here for. And I'm here to tell you that, first of all, campaign games usually are not for me. I tried Gloomhaven and quit after a few missions. Not because it wasn't interesting, it was a little bit too much of rearranging, and the game was open on my table, I think, for around 2 or 3 months, just because I think I was too much of afraid to put everything back in the box, and the thought about rearranging everything again, like, really took the air out of me. Here we're going to have something different, but I'm going to keep it for later. So, tried Gloomhaven, didn't like it. Aetherfields, didn't like it. Tainted Grail, Sleeping Gods, did the full campaign. Just wasn't for me. So when I received Stalker, I was like, wow, I really, really hope that something here is going to be different. And okay, this copy specifically I received from Awaken Realms, but wait. Before you're judging me already, I just want you to know that after playing this game, I got so excited for it that I wanted to justify this positive first impressions review, whatever you want to call it, and I just backed the game completely in the late pledge. I placed one of the, I think, the higher tier of pledges. You can follow me, if I'm not mistaken, on GameFound and see what I've pledged for. It's there. It is going to be a positive video, I can tell you from now. So I don't really like campaign games, but the thing that convinced me, like the thing that made me come to this game in more of an open kind of way, is this guy that actually wrote this game that I couldn't stop revving about in this channel. If you're following this channel, then you know what I'm talking about. If no, then first of all, welcome. And second of all, this War of Mine is a game that I absolutely love 100%. And I saw that Mikal is actually involved in some sort of way in Stalker, and I was like, okay. So the main thing that bothered me so far, in campaign games is basically the writing. I found that in most of them, the writing was just average. It's supposed to be a narrative game, and I found that the narrative is not good. S.T.A.L.K.E.R is not a classical campaign game, okay? It's not really extremely story-driven. It actually resembles more This War of Mine when the texts are shorter. You still feel here the story. There is another add-on to this game that I'm going to mention later that also gives like another personal touch to the characters, but it's not narrative heavy kind of game. There is text, you understand the story, there's some cool things over here. And while I was afraid of receiving S.T.A.L.K.E.R, actually when I started playing it, I felt really good. I felt so good that just like I told you before, I actually pledged for the entire game from scratch. So the gameplay itself, it feels good, okay? From the mission selection where you're going to go across the map and going to add stickers and actually cross like places that you cannot see anymore. You're really revealing a story or a path that your stalker or stalkers, depends who you're playing with, are going to reveal over here. It's super interesting. I really like it. The writing itself is not apologetic, is not censored. It's just good writing. Like it's maybe not long writing, but it's enough to keep me interested to feel connected more to the characters, especially if you're going to have the add-on personal stories, which I totally recommend. I think that it's an awesome add-on, not only because you're going to have a little bit more of a narrative, a little bit more of a backstory to your stalkers themselves, but also because each stalker, and I'm going to show you just very quickly, each stalker is going to receive like a list of missions that, or not really missions, like small things that you need to do during your game, during your mission, that if you're actually managing to accomplish them, some of them are a little bit difficult, you are going to be exposed to more narrative of this character, and you're going to add some cool things like an attachment to the weapon, like a special token or whatever, that is going to customize your character even more. So that is such a cool aspect that my better half and I, when we started playing this game, just added from the get-go, because it adds that much of a narrative to the game itself. So again, not a heavy narrative kind of game like we saw maybe with other classical campaigns, but still feels very good. So the zone exploration and everything that is kind of sweet. How you manage to gear up, you need to go to different places, get your weapons, and we'll talk about the equipment over here because I really like it. Just in a few more minutes. Then you're going to the mission. So you're going to choose your mission. You're going to read what's going on. You understand what you need to do. You're going to set up the board. Even that part of like setting up the board is kind of exciting just because of the overlay cards that you need to put, and you understand that you're going to do like more like different actions over there, or you will be able to search for equipment that maybe usually you wouldn't be able to get. So yeah, actually the setup is not so terrible, to be honest with you. It kind of adds to the excitement itself. The tactical aspect of S.T.A.L.K.E.R over here is kind of cool, easy to operate. You have here the standard actions. Everything is really streamlined, and all the other actions, the actions that are not actually appearing in the rulebook itself, is going to be written on the cards. So if I'm taking, for example, I had here a weapon card. Yeah, like we can use this one. If I'm going to make an action and shoot, they're going to tell us really in good amount of details what is going to happen now. You're going to take down your token, no problem. Then you're going to spend one ammunition, no problem. You're going to take green die. Then you're going to place your high attention token. So everything is written really well. You don't need to go here too much to the rulebook. Again, probably in the first mission, but more in the aspect of like operating the AI, you're going to check the rulebook. But besides that, the turns of the stalkers are just passing like this, which, and I haven't tried, I admit I only did like the solo and with 2 stalkers, but the game works so quickly that I don't think that this is going to be a bad game for 3 or even 4 stalkers. I think that the communication and the level of interaction that each stalker is going to have with the enemies over here and with the board itself, with the zone, is enough that you can have 4 stalkers played, which is something that usually I don't think that I recommend in campaign games. It's something that feels so heavy because the decisions are not so important that you really need 4 people talking about. Even this war of mine is something that I prefer to play solo or just with one other person, like Frostpunk, for example. I don't know if you really need, and I'm deliberately not taking classical campaigns, again, because Stalker is kind of a mix between them. I don't think that this is the case with Stalker, and actually this is a game that I'm excited to explore at 3 or 4 players just to see like that level of interaction. But in general, the solo experience over here is super sweet, especially thanks to the overlay things that you have over here for your turns that allows you to take more actions. So besides your turn being very streamlined, you have here different aspects that you will need to take care of. You have the anomalies over here that, yeah, maybe the overlay sometimes can be a little bit fiddly, but I don't think that they could have made something better over here to signify what is going to happen. And actually, I think it's kind of clever. I really like this idea. I really like the idea of also detecting an artifact, and this is something that just goes by chance, and you're going to place it wherever the die is going to tell you to place it. If we had this symbol, then it's going to be over here, your choice. It's really well thought and kind of elegant, if I may add to that. Another cool aspect that we have is the enemies that will be able to not only attack us, of course, but also attack each other if the conditions are met, because they are from different teams. In this game, I really like that it's very satisfying in the way of your advancing, and also you have, like, it's rewarding. That's the word that I was looking for. It's very rewarding because every time you're going to kill a human enemy, you're going to have this loot token that is going to drop, and also you're going to start with some loot tokens over here, and the overlay cards that sometimes are going to have different equipment that you might search for. So it's kind of cool that even if you don't have the best move to do in your turn, you can still try and go and pick up some loot. But don't forget, of course, that the zone is kind of alive and acting, and you have over here radiation and the different enemies and the anomaly. It's not really a pleasant environment, but it makes the game that much cooler. Also, I like the combat system over here that is basically rolling some dice, but the dice make sense to me, I want to say it like that. So you're going to take the basic dice that you have with your stalker, you're going to add it from your weapon, and I assure you that as your weapon getting better, your dice will get better. It really makes sense. It feels not too easy, okay, but not over complex, like you're not completely zero, let's call it like that, when you're starting the game. It feels really in the right level, let's say it like that. I really enjoy the difficulty of this game. You're going to roll the dice. You're going to first of all choose to which body part you would like to aim, to the head or to the torso. The head, you need to have only one place to hit, obviously, and you'll need relatively a high amount of stars. To the torso, you have several options, and it's going to be lower, but of course the damage that you can do can be lower. And I was surprised at the beginning. I thought, oh my God, it's going to be hit every time I'm going to shoot. No, not at all. And you have over here some misses. It really makes the game much more fun and much more, let's call it a little bit realistic. I really enjoy that if you're aiming to the head and you're managing to hit that enemy, most of the time it is going to signify that they're dead. You know, it's a headshot. Of course, that guy is dead. It depends on the enemy, but most of them, it's like a headshot, that's it. And another cool aspect that we have over here, before I'm talking about how the AI operates, is the attachments that you'll be able to have to your armor and to your weapon. If you can see over here, you have this shape. So different attachments to the weapon are going to have different, let's call it ending, these different shapes that you'll be able to match. This weapon can have only this type of attachment and this one. Some attachments just don't correspond to any of them, and that's really like kind of smart to do that. It's, if you have a gun, then obviously you cannot attach to it like a grenade launcher, but it's not only obvious things like this. It's a cool feature that you have in this game. It makes me excited. It makes it look cool. I really like it. Also, the game is not completely punishing. Not only that you're able to mitigate your defense by the level of your armor, and also according to the weapon that you have, that you can just roll more dice. Also, you have something that is called a focus token that you can gain from doing different things, and also the prepare action. But this focus token is something that you can discard in most aspect of rolling a dice, and you'll be able just to re-roll, which is something that I appreciate, because sometimes, it feels really not good to have a specific dice roll, and you don't want your whole turn or action to be dependent on that. The focus token is going to help you with that, which is something that I appreciate. So that was the gameplay. Let's move over to another aspect of this review, and that is the production value and price of this game. Okay, even though I wasn't a huge fan of Aether Fields or Tainted Grail or stuff like that, Awaken Realms is Awaken Realms, okay? There's not a lot you can do over there. Execution level of this game, the high-end production, it's something that few companies can do today in the market, in my opinion. Awaken Realms is one of them. Again, I'm not like a pure fanboy of Awaken Realms. I'm guessing that the games that I did like so far with them is this War of Mine, of course, now Stalker, and also the Great Wall, which is wonderful. Okay, I love the Great Wall. My girlfriend is on the way to painting the entire game, which is something that I'm very excited to show you. But in general, those are the games that I connected so far from Awaken Realms. But you cannot deny the production level of them, okay? Even in Lords of Ragnarok, that I wasn't a fan of, okay? You can check out the review that I did. Even though I adore Adam Kwapinski as a designer, just didn't connect to it, but doesn't matter. In all of their games, the one thing that you cannot deny, even if you don't like anything, is the production value that you're receiving. High-end miniatures, sun-dropped or not, the tokens, the board, the playmats, everything over here feels good, okay? So I think that the production over here is really amazing. And by the way, with the pledge that I've made, I got everything, the minis, the terrain packs, the anomalies I already have over here, even though I ordered them as well, of course. Everything here looks great. I don't want to now start showing you with the camera. I think that there are enough unboxing videos on YouTube right now. Feel free to check one of those out. I haven't, I admit, but the production value over here says it all. I think that usually, and I'm saying usually, the price of the games of Awaken Realms kind of matches the production value. Also, there is a ton of content, but we're going to talk about the replayability, of Stalker in just a few more moments. While I did manage to see later on, after a year or two, of course, the prices of games like Aether Fields or Tainted Grail and stuff like that go down a little bit, most of the time it keeps its value. I want to say maybe with a drop of 20 to 30%, depends, of course. If it's sun drop, it's going to probably more likely to keep its value. If it's new in shrink or not, well, usually I want to say that the value keeps around 70-80%. So yeah, you can with some games like wait a year or two and snag them in a lower price. Sometimes it's just like something that you really want to play, just like Stalker in my case. So I just want it as soon as possible. And I'm going to receive this pledge with a Wave 2 that is supposed to come around, I want to say, May, if I'm not mistaken, 2025, but probably it's going to be during this year. So after having said that, with the production value and the price of Stalker that I find relatively fair, you can take only the standee version, which is exactly what I have over here. You have these standees. You know what? Let's talk about it for a few seconds. I think that while the minis is something that I'm going to receive a little bit later, the standees are okay. But here's the thing. The direction of your enemies over here is extremely important. It's cardinal to understand where your enemy is facing, because if you don't understand it, it's going to be that much harder for you to operate the game. I do have a complaint over here that I think that some of these standees were made too dark. Okay, I'm not saying that obviously one side is going to be completely black and the other side has some sort of an art. So yeah, for sure it's obvious. And a nice feature that they did over here is the small stickers of the triangle that are going to help you see what is the direction of the base of the standee. But I still think that the art could have been a little bit more clear in colors. I understand that the zone is supposed to be a cold, dark place, but when you're looking at one of the ticks that you have as a standee, it's really dark. You cannot even enjoy the art, which is a little bit too bad. I'm guessing that this is something that I would have changed over here, but you can take the standees version of the game and pay, I think, around $95, if I'm not mistaken, on GameFound, something like that, before taxes and delivery and everything. But just for this $95, if you're getting the game and the stretch goals, you're kind of packed with content, okay? Like for the price, it's pretty an amazing price for what you're receiving over here. Let me say it like that. It's pretty an amazing price. The game starts to be more expensive when you're adding around $75 for the miniatures or stuff like that, content that you might not necessarily want or need when you're just entering this game. This is totally up to you. For me personally, because I got to try the game and understand what I want to add to it. I just got everything because we're going to talk about it in replayability, because there is more content that I want to unlock for this game. Okay, if we're already talking about it, that in the first wave, we received 6 boxes, like 6 mission boxes. And I'm not even talking about yet the zone survival mode that you have over here, which is kind of a single shot missions that you'll be able to do outside of the campaign, nothing to do with the story, but you're going to receive for the story 6 boxes of missions. And if I'm not mistaken, with wave 2, you're supposed to have 3 more missions, like 3 more boxes. And then you have another expansion, another add-on that I wanted to take. Forgot how it's called. Give me 1 second. Duty and Freedom. Duty and Freedom, that's the name, which is going to add another aspect to this game and 3 more boxes of missions. So you understand that the price, in my opinion, for what you can take, even at the base pledge, is more than fair. I think it's totally legit. You're going to receive here quite a lot of hours of fun while having only the base pledge. You want to add more, I think that's great, especially things that are going to add content to the game, not necessarily the production value that you're maybe seeing with a terrain pack or the minis, just like the personal stories, small stuff like that are going to add even the replayability and the story for this game. So if we're already talking about the replayability, let's break it down, shall we? I was a little bit skeptical in the beginning about the replayability, because I thought to myself, wow, only 6 missions, that doesn't seem like a lot. So I don't know if it's going to be like okay or not. And this is why at the beginning of the video, I wasn't sure if it's going to be like a first impressions or review. Usually for the games that I'm reviewing, it's games that I've played in different player counts at least 5-6 times, and already I can give you my thoughts about the replayability value of this game. Obviously with campaign games is a little bit different, because you really need to finish the whole campaign just to understand if there is a replayability value over here. So first of all, I think that the amount of hours that I already invested in S.T.A.L.K.E.R, not only learning the game, but actually playing, because we managed to finish the first mission, failed the second one, then did it again, and then almost finishing the third mission when I needed really to pack and get ready for this video. But that's basically an entire weekend, if not more, of like constant S.T.A.L.K.E.R, going to sleep at 2-3 a.m. just because we couldn't stop playing this game, okay? I'm being honest with you. We couldn't stop like going away and say, okay, let's finish their turn, go to sleep, continue tomorrow. No, like I need to see this mission through. So I feel comfortable to say that this is a review to some degree, but also first impressions because I haven't explored everything that there is to see in this game. So replayability. Once I started to play this game and I saw that even in every mission, you're not going to use all the cards. Some of them are going to be randomized, like you're going to choose one card out of 3, for example, to place it on the board. Other cards you just didn't manage to go to because you ran out of time, because you finished the mission first, because many things could have happened. And also in the zone exploration, sometimes you're not going to explore one of the locations. And at some point you're like, that's it. Now this location is not available for you anymore. So the more I played, the more I understood that there is like a big replayability value over here. Also because each stalker really has different powers and different stats that you will be able to mix and mash with other stalkers in your next game. Again, the personal stories, the more content that we have with the add-ons, again, it's going to come with Wave 2, so it's just something that I can imagine. But this is pretty cool, trying different equipments, running into different artifacts, anomaly cards. There are a lot of things over here that are going to change from one game to another, from one campaign to another. So while I do admit that I didn't finish the campaign for the first time, I can already see over here that there is a relatively high replayability value. Even though you're going to finish the story and you kind of know what's going to happen, that's okay. Another aspect of the game that I haven't researched yet is the zone survival mode, which is something that is, again, going to be only a one-shot mission that you can, like, you feel like playing Stalker and you're like, you know what, but I don't really want to do the entire campaign. No worries. Just choose a mission, do it together with how many players you would like to play, finish the game, put it back in the box, go on. So I think there's, again, a lot of content and a really a big replayability value over here. Let's talk about another thing, and that is the save mode, which is something that scares me most of the time when I'm thinking about campaign games. You know, you already spread everything on the table, you're already playing, and then you're like, okay, I need to take a break from this game. Let's put it back in the box, continue another time. This is, for me, in many opportunities, make or break a game, a campaign game, because just the breakdown, like the teardown, and the setup of the games are so long and so uncomfortable that it kind of ruins for you everything. Not in Stalker. Okay, the save mode over here is so comfortable. I was kind of shocked for me, okay? In this binder, you have this transparent folder over here that you can just put inside all the contact cards, all your money, all your mission stalkers in different bags, your map. You can just put your stash. Sorry, like it keeps coming. You can just put everything over here. And the next time you want to play, you just open the mission booklet, you arrange your mission, and the setup is easy. The save is easy. You just take, there you go, this is your stalker, this is mine. Let's set it up for 2 seconds and continue. It's so comfortable and so elegant. I really, I enjoyed it. This is one of the things that I was afraid of the most when I received Stalker. Okay, just like the same, like, oh my God, again, I will need to, everything is okay. One folder to rule them all. So comfortable. It's absolutely a pleasure. Okay, so we finished talking about that. For now, I only criticize the art. Asaf, there is no way this game is that good. I think that even while the replayability value is quite high, the lack of campaign content, I think, is going to be a little bit the Achilles' heel of Stalker. Okay, because yeah, for sure, it's nice to play the campaign again, or it's nice to do this survival zone mode or something like that, but we want the story. This is why we're here for. Otherwise, we're going to take a war game or a tactical skirmish game or whatever, but we want the story. Now, I'm not so sure what are Awaken Realms plans for Stalker later on, or of Pawel himself. I hope we're going to see more stories over here, because it kind of drives me crazy that for a campaign game you can have like with the stretch goals. Yeah, we have 3-4 campaign games, like 3-4 campaigns for you that is really going to, you spend tens of hours, if not hundreds of hours on finishing all of this content. You have campaign after campaign after campaign and kind of big books. And over here you have one campaign that is going to take you throughout 3 boxes or 6 or even 9. It feels at some point that you want more content. So there's supposed to be a limit somewhere, okay? Awaken Realms cannot continue producing only content for Stalker. It makes sense, but it feels like there's missing over here content for the campaign itself, for the story. Give me the story, okay? So I'm guessing that this is kind of a big setback or draw that we have in this game, but I want to say that it's actually like a positive thing, because I feel that the story and the way that everything is written is so good. I just want more. So if it's a positive or negative thing, I leave it up to you. Bottom line, okay, what are we here for? If you watch the entire video, so you know already that this is, I like this game. Stalker, a post-apocalyptic game taking place in a parallel world. You're going to have here 3 phases: the zone exploration, where you're going to gear up and meet new people, going into your new mission. Then you're going to take a mission, you're going to set it up, you're going to have the tactical aspect over here of this game. Very simple AI to work. Pay attention to the details, to the basic concepts of this game, because it is going to be important to understand how the game operates later. Finishing with that, go see what's going on. High replayability, but I do feel that there's supposed to be more story content for this game. The value is great, game feels great. I do wish that the standees for the enemies would have been a little bit more clearer to the eye and not so dark. It's not a deal breaker at all, just something that I would have preferred, especially for those of you who don't want to invest more money in getting the miniatures, which is something that personally I wanted to take. Stalker the board game, such a pleasant surprise. I cannot wait to finish this video editing and then just dive into this game for one last time before I really have to take it off the table and continue to more content. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. Thank you for your patience. Let me know, what did you think about this first impressions review? What is your experience with Stalker? Give me the pros, the cons. Let's have a conversation about it. Join the Discord or even here in the comment section of YouTube. Thank you for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time.